Thank you very much, Sumana, for the introduction. Once again, everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Please accept my greeting from wherever you're joining me from. I'm Professor Hana Siddiquee, joining you from New York City, USA. And it is my great pleasure to be in this network, Women in Agile. It's a global network. I'm an avid follower of your network. I am very proud of your fascinating, amazing work that you are doing. Keep doing what you are doing. And I'm also delighted to be the very first speaker of this great conference. This is going to be a great conference. I'll share my screen so you are able to see my presentation. First thing first, as Simon Sinek says, choose your journey, start with what? I'm here today to share my story with you so that you can decide whether to try Agile yourself. This is the Agile community, but I'm speaking to particularly my educators community. As Sumana read my bio, I just wanted to point out one thing is that, yes, I am a faculty, I am an academic, and I'm a researcher, and I teach mostly MBA courses in the USA. And I've had the pleasure to implement Agile teaching and learning into more than, well, actually now with this semester counted this year is more than 20 courses that I have implemented this method. And I am so delighted and looking forward to share my story, my case study, my findings with you. Before I talk to you about my case study, I wanted to share with you a childhood story, my earliest memory, childhood memories with my father. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I wanted this toy. So I went to my dad and said, Dad, I want this toy. So my dad looked at me and asked me, why do you want that toy? So I looked at him and said, oh, because my friend has it. He looked at me, smiled, and said, try again. I looked at him a little bit puzzled because this is not something he ever asked me before. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what he wanted me to say. I thought about it for a moment. And then I said, oh, Dad, I know why I want that toy. And then I started listing the features of that toy. That this toy has that cool feature. This toy has this cool feature. I really like this toy and I want it. My dad looked at me, smiled, and said, that's better. That story resonated with me till today. I'm going to share my presentation with you today, and hopefully by the end of this session, you will discover why Agile strategies are vital for educational institutions. You will learn about an innovative method proven to improve student engagement. You will also know a few strategies towards preparing the future workforce. Before I share my case studies, the findings, I wanted to share with you a few data that I collected from Gallup. Okay, so we're in the United States, and I wanted to share with you the satisfaction with K-12 education in the US. So this is the overall, how satisfied are you with the quality of education students receive in kindergarten through grade 12 in the US today. As you can see, the total percentage of satisfied, that is in green line, and a darker green line is total percentage of dissatisfied. And this is the data span from 2000 to 2020. And unfortunately, the percentage of total dissatisfied is larger than total percentage of satisfied, right? Towards the 2020, it's even higher. The differences is even higher. 51%, 55%, 50% not satisfied. This was a survey done in grades 5th through 12, the percentage of students who strongly agree by grade, right? So there were 3 questions, survey question asked. In the last 7 days, I have learned something interesting at school. I have fun at school. At this school, I get to do what I do best every day. Look at the percentage. Concerning. As the grades are higher, the percentage is actually lower. 20% in grade 12. I have fun at school. At the school, I get to do what I do best every day, 18%. In the last 7 days, I have learned something interesting at school, only 33%. I have another set of data set. You can see elementary school, middle schools, and high school. Look at the engagement rates. It goes down, right? It drops over time. And by the time they get to higher education, college, it is very, very challenging on us, those who are in higher education academics. We really have to be extremely, extremely creative in engaging our students in higher education and college. So this is another set of findings that I wanted to share with you, is to how to adequately address the barriers today's students face, right? We must first recognize the 21st century students do not fit that traditional profile. I started teaching about 10 years ago, and let me tell you that majority of our students are actually non-traditional students, especially in higher education, right? 52% first in their family to complete college, 51% low to moderate income, 42% age 24 or more, 42% from communities of color, 30% attending part-time, 28% taking care of children or other dependents, 26% working full-time while enrolled in college, 18% non-native English speakers, 10% immigrants, 5% active duty military personnel or veterans. Traditional teachings never made sense to me ever since I started teaching, because this was the data I had in my hand. So ever since then, I actually started searching for non-traditional teaching methods. For example, project-based learning, active learning, collaborative learning, query-based learning. And I had started adopting those non-traditional teaching methods very early on in my teaching career. Today, I'd like to share the data from my case study. What is Agile education, and can it help improve student engagement? While various tools and services can help student success, EduScrum, an innovative teaching and learning method, has proven to be exceptionally effective way to increase student retention. And this case study is a proven method for teaching and learning and is known to be effective, boost student motivation in higher education. So some of the challenges that we were facing is that very low student engagement rates, of course, absentees, latenesses, lack of motivation, unable to complete work in time. And this is, I'm referring to a particular MBA concentration program. This was a new program that, that was launched with me for the first time. And the topic, the courses are in topics of business analytics. So we're teaching business analytics to MBA major. Now, they're MBA majors, so the students did not have the technical background yet. The students did not have the math proficiencies yet. Well, yeah, college algebra is the requirement, which the student, of course, met the requirement. However, the math, I don't know if we have any mathematicians here, for the type of mathematics we use, particularly algebra, advanced level algebra, which is linear programming. So it's something that our students are not yet familiar with. So the struggle were there. These projects that the students were working in class are real world scenarios taken from the real world. So the real world projects, complex projects that the students were working on. So my students were struggling. My students were struggling so much that they were unable to complete work in time. And as you can see, the very first course when we started teaching this, offer this program in winter 19, the average student engagement is only 61%. I was concerned, extremely concerned, because my students are extremely enthusiastic. I know that they want to learn. I am here feeling helpless. And I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't my students, but I knew that I needed to do something to help my students. And just like that, I thought of Agile. I knew about Agile. I thought about Agile because I'll tell you why. Because these are complex projects. What better way you can take on your complex projects than Agile? Thought about it, came to class the next day. I wrote Scrum on the board, big letters. And I told my students, guys, let's do Scrum. And our journey, my journey to Agile teaching and learning started just like that. And the very first session, I implemented Scrum. All of my students completed work in time. And we never looked back since then. As you can see, in spring 19, the average of student engagement went up from 61 to 93%, which is a 32% increase. In fall 19, I learned EduScrum and I implemented EduScrum. Our success stories continued. The average student engagement rate went up from 93% to 94%, which is a 1% increase. Continuing my story, 2020, when the pandemic hit. The pandemic hits, and we were literally given about week and a half, 10 days. And we were told that, hey, we're going to be online and you have to learn everything about online teaching, learn all the tools in the LMS, the learning management system that we use. And, we're going to be fully online, right? And we canceled class for like one or two, for 1 week, we canceled class. And so we had to prepare our students, everything, the entire staff and the students had to be shifted from in-person to fully online. However, it sounds as challenging, as nerve-wracking as it is for me and for my students. It was a smooth transition. And the reason is because my students already had the foundation, working in collaboration remotely, also while they are in class, working with their classmates. We use Scrum, we use a few collaboration apps like Trello. So my students know how to collaborate even when they are not in class, they're away. And they know all the online tools and the collaboration tools that they can use to leverage. So the student engagement rate, as you can see, for course 1 and 2 is 100%. So this is a data that is different than what you have seen. And also you will see that the student engagement rate during this COVID era is heartbreaking. Dropout rates and failing is just heartbreaking. However, we have been very successful. And I think the reason we had been successful is because of the power of this learning method and power of this framework. So I would like to stop here and see if you have any questions, but I don't want to talk to you too much, give you too much. If you have any question, I can take a question or two, or I can move on and talk to you a little bit about what is ATLM. Do we have any questions or comments?
We do not have any questions yet, Hana, but we are all anchored to the way you're telling us your story. So please go on with it.
Okay, sounds good. Sure, I will. All right, so it is a new, fairly new teaching and learning method. And what it focuses on is mainly collaboration, right? We believe in demonstration and application. We believe in building a strong community. We believe in, of course, continuous improvement. We believe in at being adaptive and innovative. And of course, we emphasize on leadership, students' ownership and agency. We also focus on faculty and students over administration and infrastructure. We focus on attitude and learning skills over aptitude and degree, competence and collaboration over compliance and competition. Last but not least, employability and marketability over syllabus and works. I want to talk to you a little bit about EduScrum. EduScrum is a framework. It is adopted in EduScrum. It is an innovative instructional method to me. And so students work in self-managing teams and make their learning visible. Students see they become facilitators and effective guides on the site. And finally, school administration becomes more collaborative. Last but not least, I wanted to talk to you about preparing future workforce. But before I do that, I wanted to share with you another piece of data that I've collected from Gallup, is the US employee engagement trend in 2020. So in 2020, March, April, and June, percent of engaged, you can see 37, 38, 31% of actively disengaged, 15, 13, and 14. So I wanted to actually hold a discussion. Most of you here are holding a management position. I've learned a little bit about your community. And so I wanted to hold a conversation with you is, how do we prepare the future workforce? How do we prepare our students so they can serve the organization's projects, products the best? What can educational institutions do to prepare our students so that they can take part in the world? Uncertainty is the only certainty. It's the VUCA world we are living in. So I would like to end my presentation here and see if you have any questions, and if we have questions, then we'll actually get to talk about, and I want to hear from you, that what do you think the best, what suggestion do you have for me as an educator in higher education to best prepare our students?
Thank you, Hana. And yes, we do have some questions here right now. We do have questions from Amol in terms of what's the age group of the students you were handling? And also, was it Agile education related? That's the first question.
Thank you. The first question, the age group? Well,
yes.
I'll give you the data actually. In higher education in the USA, I'm teaching the USA. Age average is majority are older than 24. But personally, I have students, they are age range from, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. So yeah, adult students.
Okay, so it's various age groups which you deal with. Okay. And also on the part, like, is it Agile education related ones? And we also have a question from Bhakti, which also is related, like, do the students really decide what they want to study in terms of the syllabus?
Thank you for the question. I didn't understand the second part of the first question. Could you repeat that question, please?
Sure. The first part is like, is it related to the Agile education? And the second one is from Bhakti, where does students decide, or can they decide what they want to study in terms of the syllabus?
Yes, it is Agile teaching and learning. So yes, we do have Agile manifesto, and our core values and principles are a bit different than the Agile manifesto for software. But yeah, Agile teaching and learning, yes, it is. And the second question, students, do they get to decide? unfortunately, we do have to stick to the curriculum because we are practicing this agile teaching and learning method. It is Scrum is under the traditional system, unfortunately. So what the students are given freedom of and autonomy on is their projects. So I practice project-based learning, and students get to actually choose their topic, and with a very few guidelines and outlines, but they're given full freedom. When they come to class, even I conduct my sessions where they have the freedom to build their backlog. So as much as I can, I accommodate my students what they would like to learn, but unfortunately we have to stay within the curriculum. And that has been our biggest impediment, the curriculum.
Okay. Thanks, Hana. And I also have this comment from Sheila here. She just wants to confirm whether she heard it right in terms of the students. You just mentioned, did you mention that the students were doing some remote collaboration pre-pandemic? If yes, probably you can, talk more on that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So my students, they work, 90 to 95% of the time, they actually, throughout the semester, they work in collaboration. So we have classwork. So when they're in class, they're working on their classwork. However, when they are working on their, let's say, for example, term project, they have term projects and they have weekly projects and, mini projects and in between. So they need to collaborate outside of the classroom. So they have to leverage those tools, those collaboration tools, and they'll have to collaborate even when they're not in class. And so they were actually, they're located in different states, and some of them went back to home when the pandemic hit. And so they were doing that. But even when they were, even when before the pandemic, they were doing that at home, working on their homework assignments and their projects. Yeah, they were collaborating.
Okay. I think, and Sheila also has this, question on when you mentioned the students' age range is between 20s to 60s. Does that mean most of your classes are multi-generational?
Yes, in the USA, there is actually no restrictions on enrolling in any program. There's very little restrictions, so literally it's open to all. So
okay. Any further questions from anyone in in this room? I think yeah, that's all. Thank you, Hana. It was really wonderful to hear from you. Thank you so much.
thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to the next presentation. Please stay tuned, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Hana. These tips we can be shared with other teachers all around the world so that our kids who will be forming the next generation will be easily able to gel with the way we work, collaborate, and do projects. So I think, yeah, we should give our kids the same thing. Okay, so thank you, Hana.